Ever wonder how we build sentences? You know, how we go from a simple little statement to something way more complex and detailed? Well, it all comes down to a few basic building blocks. And in this explainer, we're going to break down the mechanics of what makes a great sentence tick. Okay, let's start with something super simple, like this one. The dog is barking, right? It's short, it's clear, it gets the point across. It's a whole idea, a perfect little sentence all by itself. But then you get a sentence like this. Whoa. Now this is packing in way more info. I mean, we still have the dog, right? But now we know its barking is so loud it actually hurts Lingo's ears. And get this, the squirrel doesn't even flinch. So how in the world do we get from that first simple sentence to this beast of a sentence? What's the secret sauce? Well, the answer is actually pretty straightforward. It's all about understanding the basic building blocks that make any sentence work. And that fundamental building block is something called a clause. Seriously, think of clauses as the individual Lego bricks of language. You can use them to build pretty much anything you can imagine. So what is a clause exactly? Well, it's basically the core unit of meaning. It's a group of words that hangs together grammatically. And here's the key. Every single clause has two essential parts. And finding a clause is actually super easy. Just follow these two steps. First, find the action. What's happening. Then you just ask, okay, who or what is doing that action? If you've got answers to both, boom, you found yourself a clause. Let's try it with our first sentence. What's happening? Is barking. Easy enough. And who's doing it? The dog. See? There you have it, a subject and a verb. You've just spotted a clause in the wild. Okay, but here's where it gets interesting. Not all clauses are created equal. First up, let's meet the star of the show, the main clause. This is the independent, can-do-it-all part of the sentence. The special power of a main clause is that it expresses a complete thought. It doesn't need any help from anyone to make sense. Our old friend, the dog is barking, is a perfect example of a main clause. It can just be a sentence all by itself. And what's cool is you can build bigger sentences by connecting two of these main clauses together. You just use little connector words like and or but. So here, the dog is barking is one complete thought. And Lingo's ears hurt is another. We just stick them together with and to create a more detailed picture. But wait, there's another type of clause, right? Yep, meet the subordinate clause. Now, if the main clause is the hero, think of the subordinate clause as its trusty sidekick. It's super important, but it kind of needs the hero around to function. The difference is actually really simple. A main clause makes sense all by itself. A subordinate clause, on the other hand, just feels incomplete. It totally depends on a main clause to give it meaning. It's there to add extra flavor and detail, but it needs that main clause to hold it up. For example, what if I just walked up to you and said, so much that Lingo's ears hurt? You'd probably look at me like I was crazy and ask, what? What so much? Right? It just doesn't make any sense on its own. It leaves you totally hanging. And that feeling, that wait, what feeling, is the telltale sign of a subordinate clause. But check this out. Watch what happens when we hook it up to a main clause. The dog barks so much that Lingo's ears hurt. Ah, now it makes perfect sense. The main clause gives it the context it was desperately missing. All right, so now that we know about our two types of clauses, we can really start to see how to use them to build better sentences. This is where things get fun. Mastering this gives you so much more control and lets you create sentences with rhythm and flow and real impact. And you don't always have to put the main clause first. You can get a really cool effect by starting with the sidekick, the subordinate clause. For instance, even though the dog is barking so loudly, the squirrel is sleeping. See how that works? It kind of builds a little suspense before you get to the main point. Okay, you ready to level up? Let's push this just a little further. Can you actually put a subordinate clause inside of another subordinate clause? You bet you can. The answer is yes. It's kind of like those Russian nesting dolls, one inside another. So here, the clause, even though the dog is barking, is tucked right inside the clause because it is sleeping. You can layer details just like this to build these really specific, really sophisticated sentences. After all this, it seems Lingo himself has perfectly summed up our whole lesson. I can't hear. There's our main clause, right? A complete thought. And why can't he hear? Because the dog is barking, and there's our subordinate clause, giving us that crucial extra piece of the puzzle. And really, that's the whole secret. Sentence structure isn't some big mystery. It's just about combining these two types of clauses, main and subordinate. So now you have the building blocks. The only question left is, what kind of sentences are you going to build?